Imagine a league where you can finish the season with 90 points and still not earn automatic promotion, where a club that lifted the Premier League trophy less than a decade ago is currently staring down at League One football, where the single richest game in world football takes place not under Champions League lights but at a Wembley playoff final. A league where your best young player is gone in January, bought by a Premier League club, where your manager is poached mid-season by a top-flight club in the relegation zone. This is not theoretical. This happens every season, every year, the same theater, the same drama, the same brutality. This is the EFL Championship, and today we are going to tell you exactly why it is the hardest league in the world. Welcome to Mega Football. Let's get started. Explosion in Spain, Italy, and Germany. Reaching 85 points means you are likely champions or a clear second. In the championship, it might mean third place and a playoff semifinal. Look at the current table. Ipswich sits second with 75 points from 40 games, a return that would challenge for the title in most European second divisions. Middlesbrough are fourth on 72, 1 point behind Millwall in third, having played a season of relentless high-quality football, and yet all three are not celebrating anything. The championship's point structure reflects its merciless depth. 2 clubs go up automatically, 1 more club survives the playoff process, the rest, no matter what their points tally says, stay. You can build one of the best seasons in the history of any second division in European football and still end up in a semi-final that goes to extra time at the Riverside. In this league, excellence is the entry requirement. What you do with it is another matter entirely. There is a reason championship analysts have abandoned the idea of safe fixtures. The division is so compressed in quality, physically, tactically, and in terms of squad depth that any team on any Saturday can beat any other. The bottom 6 regularly take points from the top 6. Promotion contenders drop points against relegation fighters in consecutive weekends. Form tables, which in most leagues reveal a clear hierarchy, become almost unreliable by the midpoint of the season. Every opponent is organized, physical, and fighting for something real: survival, a playoff push, the dignity of a top 10 finish. There are no weeks off, no opponents you can take lightly, no matches where the quality gap is so wide that the result is predictable before kickoff. 46 games against 23 other clubs who all believe, sometimes correctly, that they can beat you. That is not a league. That is a year-long war, and the table reflects which club survived it. Every summer, Premier League clubs are relegated into the championship carrying something that no promoted side can match: parachute payments. In their first year back in the second tier, a relegated club receives around £45 million. In year 2, around £35 million. That money exists alongside wage structures built for top-flight football, structures that championship clubs cannot replicate from scratch. The result is a competitive landscape that is already tilted before a ball is kicked in August. This season, Southampton sits 6th in the table inside the playoff positions with the financial cushion that parachute payments provide. The championship's own clubs have complained about this distortion for years, pointing out that the same recently relegated sides tend to dominate the promotion conversation, and yet even with that advantage, the budget, the infrastructure, the Premier League quality depth, promotion is never guaranteed. That is the final perfect irony. The parachute helps, but it doesn't save you. Nothing truly does in this division. The championship has no memory and no sentiment. It does not care what your badge says or how many decades you spent in the top flight. Leicester City won the Premier League in 2016, arguably the most improbable title in the history of football. In the current 2025-26 season, they sit 23rd in the championship with 41 points, facing the prospect of League One football. Sheffield United, Premier League regulars in recent seasons, are 17th. The championship devours legacy. It strips away past glory and replaces it with the cold, immediate arithmetic of results. You compete at the required level every week, or the table shows you exactly where you really are. The crest on the shirt means nothing on a wet Tuesday in Preston. For a club that has spent recent years at Premier League level, dropping from the Championship into League One is not simply a sporting setback, it is a financial catastrophe that can take years to fully recover from. The wages built during Premier League seasons, sustained by parachute payments in the Championship, become immediately unsustainable in the third tier. Crowds shrink, commercial revenues collapse. The gap between what the squad costs and what the club earns becomes unbridgeable almost overnight. Luton Town, promoted to the Premier League as recently as 2023, know this threat intimately. Cardiff City have spent years navigating it, and Leicester City are staring at it right now. Sunderland spent years in League One before mounting their long road back. Some clubs manage the descent, many don't. For clubs of recent Premier League vintage, the drop to the third tier is not a minor inconvenience. It is, in the worst cases, the beginning of an era that defines a generation of supporters. No major second division in Europe demands what the championship demands in terms of sheer volume. 24 clubs, 46 league games per team, plus FA Cup and League Cup obligations, often 3 fixtures in a single week. The Premier League, for all its pace and intensity, plays 38 games. The Bundesliga's second tier plays 34. The schedule accumulates in ways that only become truly visible in the injury tables when squads are running thin and managers are fielding combinations that would have been unthinkable in August. There are no comfortable weeks in the championship calendar, no dead fixtures where either side has nothing to play for. Every game carries weight for someone. The combination of volume, physicality, and intensity at this level is genuinely unique in world football. 46 games is not a season, it is a siege, and only the most robust clubs survive it intact. The championship's managerial turnover is unlike anything in elite English football. A 4-game losing run can be enough to cost a head coach everything, regardless of the work done in the preceding months. Chairmen cannot afford patience. The financial difference between a playoff position and a mid-table finish between mid-table and relegation is simply too vast to allow sentiment to creep in. The knock-on effect is the destruction of any possibility of long-term tactical identity. Just as a squad begins to understand and execute its manager's system to move with fluency and trust, the manager is gone and the reset button is pressed. New coach, new shape, new mentality, and then the cycle starts again. This season offered a vivid example. Rob Edwards had led Middlesbrough to second place in the championship table, having only been appointed in June 2025, 4 months into the job with Boro flying. Wolverhampton Wanderers came in with a Premier League offer and Edwards was gone by November. Middlesbrough had to start again mid-season with 30 games left. The merry-go-round does not stop. A young player arrives in the championship and within weeks something clicks. He is different. He is the kind of player that makes the terraces genuinely excited, the kind that builds belief, and then, without warning, a Premier League scouting report lands on a director of football's desk. Morgan Rogers joined Middlesbrough from Manchester City in the summer of 2023 for around £1 million. He had 6 months at the Riverside. Aston Villa noticed him during a single FA Cup tie in January 2024, moved immediately and paid a fee that would eventually rise to £16 million. Boro lost their most influential player mid-season. Rogers went on to become one of the most exciting players in the Premier League, now valued at over £80 million, with Manchester United, Arsenal, Chelsea and PSG all reportedly interested. The division produces stars at a remarkable rate. It just rarely gets to keep them long enough to benefit from what they become. Third place, fourth, fifth, sixth, 4 clubs who have spent 46 games demonstrating they belong among the championship's elite. They do not go up automatically. Instead, they play 2-legged semi-finals before a single winner-takes-all final at Wembley Stadium. There's no points aggregate over the season, no extra credit for finishing third rather than sixth. The format does not care about consistency. It rewards who holds their nerve on one specific May afternoon. And if you lose, you return in August and spend another 9 months trying to get back to that same moment. Some clubs have circled the playoff positions for years, close enough every season to believe, never quite able to convert. As if the format wasn't already brutal enough, from next season the EFL has confirmed it is expanding the playoffs from 4 teams to 6, meaning third all the way down to 8th will enter the postseason battle with additional eliminator ties before the semi-finals even begin. 1/4 of the entire division fighting for a single promotion spot. It is football's most dramatic format. It is also, without much argument, cruelest. Forget the Champions League final. In terms of pure financial stakes condensed into a single match, no game on earth rivals the championship playoff final at Wembley. Deloitte has valued winning the final at anywhere between £140 million and £300 million over 3 years, depending on parachute payments and how long the winning club survives in the Premier League. A club moves from championship central revenues of around £11 million per year to Premier League distributions of over £100 million in one afternoon. The pressure that creates on every player and manager on that Wembley pitch is unlike anything else in the sport. Sunderland experienced the full weight and joy of it last season, completing a long road back to the top flight. But for every Sunderland, there is a Derby County who in 2019 produced one of the great playoff semi-final comebacks to beat Leeds, then lost the final 2-1 to Aston Villa. 9 months of work, an extraordinary run of results, and one afternoon at Wembley to show for it. That is the championship playoff final, the richest game in football, and the most unforgiving. 10 reasons, 10 truths about a league that gets called a lot of things. Unpredictable, relentless, physical, chaotic, but rarely gets called what it actually is. The hardest professional football competition in the world, not hardest to watch. It is in fact one of the most addictive leagues on earth, with average attendances that embarrass half of Europe's top divisions. But hardest to win, hardest to escape, hardest to simply survive with your club's structure and ambition intact. And that is exactly the kind of story Mega Football is built to tell. This is a brand new channel, part of the Mega family, alongside Mega Stadiums and Mega Stadiums UK, dedicated to the stories, the numbers, the drama, and the history that make football unlike anything else on earth. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss what we put out next. Leave us your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for watching. See you next week. Outro jingle.